Well, hey, welcome.
Hi, guys.
Woo! Sorry, I kind of almost punched you there.
It's all right.
With my hand. Welcome to another video, which is a Q&A. You sent us your questions and we're going to answer them. And Ollie is right here.
I took screenshots.
Oh, here's his little nose. You could just barely see it.
We didn't talk about these questions, so this is going to be off the cuff questions and answers. First question is, what are your go-to comfort foods or baked goods?
All right. We don't bake a lot, but go ahead.
Mary baked yesterday and she made pumpkin cookies and they are so good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I mean,
I followed a recipe.
Yeah. But they're good. Pumpkin cookies with buttercream frosting.
But I really only make those like once a year. More often I make half of a box of Aldi brownie mix.
Yeah. I'd say that's probably your go-to.
Yeah, and then comfort foods.
Comfort foods? Like...
I think I know. Mine.
Okay, go ahead.
Soup. I just love making soup.
When I think of comfort food, I think of like roasted chicken and mashed potatoes.
That's
kind of like our dinner last night.
Yeah.
We like did pan-seared chicken. Okay, what are your middle names?
I'm not telling this one.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay, all right.
You can tell yours though.
So there's a like level of disclosure, and that crosses the level of disclosure
That's
on
right.
the internet. Okay, my middle name is LeCompte, L-E-C-O-M-P-T-E. And
the fact that you pronounced it like that, you surprised me.
Well, like our family pronounces it LeCompte, but I have come to say LeCompte because that's how it's spelled. Otherwise, people are like, don't know how to spell it, whatever. Anyways, grandmother's maiden name. It is kind of special to have a family name.
It's super special. Like, I love that he has such a unique... Mine is also a family name, and I just don't want to...
disclose that information.
Yeah.
What is your favorite holiday? I think I'm gonna say Christmas. Okay, I'm gonna say Christmas with an asterisk. Because I feel like Christmas is unfair because Christmas gets... There's just a lot of... You have a whole season that accompanies Christmas.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of... It unfairly wins the holiday category.
Okay.
But outside of Christmas, I really love Thanksgiving. Partially because I think...
Come here, Bo.
I think my favorite season is fall. And I just... The idea of just gathering around a meal and that is the holiday.
Yeah.
And being grateful. I just love that.
I love that too. I have a lot of good memories of Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's hard. That's a hard question.
Okay, take Christmas out of the mix. You've got
Easter.
Easter.
Yeah, I think it's Thanksgiving.
My birthday. Okay. If you could travel anywhere, money was no object, where would you go? And COVID was not in the picture.
Right. Do you already have yours?
I'll say the first thing that comes to mind. There's a lot of places I think I could answer this, and if you asked me any certain day, I'd probably give you a different answer, but I'm going to say Germany.
That was my first one, but Africa.
Okay, Africa. Where in Africa? Zimbabwe?
We've talked about going to Zimbabwe since we were like 14.
Yeah. Maybe. But I think for me, Germany.
What about visiting our friends in Zambia?
That would be awesome too.
What about, I mean, Germany was the first thing that came to my mind, but
I think part of it is when we lived in Scotland, we had plans to do a trip to Germany. There's a few different reasons I think we wanted to go to Germany. One I think that's on the list is Christmas markets in Germany.
Yes!
But like there's Reformation history there, and like visiting some of those sites, and I don't know. I think it would be a cool place to go.
Israel?
Yeah, for sure. I think that might even top the list. I thought that Australia came to mind too. I think kangaroos are cool.
But I think for me, money is no object. If that was the stipulation, money is no object, COVID is no object, flight time is no object. So if there was some sort of teleport device, Australia. I mean, all of these places. I mean, our friends said their flights from Zambia were like, oh man, I think it was 25 hours of flying. Those were separated up.
Crazy.
I mean, that's crazy. So the flight time is truly a huge issue for me. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Good question.
Let's talk adoption. We got a lot of questions about adoption, and one was, how is the waiting process going?
I think that the answer to this might differ each week, each month, each day.
Yeah.
There are so many ups and downs, and as we go through the mental and emotional ups and downs, our hearts and minds are constantly like going back to the expectant mom who is deciding if she wants to make an adoption plan, and the roller coaster for her heart and mind as well. And so as we pray through this process, we're also praying for her, whoever she might be. And I think as we've seen in our life, the wait is never wasted.
Yeah.
But also to flip that, don't waste the waiting.
Yeah.
And so it's both and.
It takes this intentional kind of waiting where it's a mindset of actively waiting. And in that, I think Mary and I are trying to let our hearts find contentment in the midst of the waiting. And like Mary said, like we'll go into the baby's room and we're excited. Like Mary loves shopping for little baby items or little onesies or whatever it is, and like as we prepare, like settling our hearts into this reality that God's timing is going to be perfect in the moment that we are chosen. And so at this point we are an actively waiting family. I think that is like kind of the official term, and it's a good term for us to think about because it's this active wait of not just being like, I wish it could like come today, although like that's our heart's desire, is that it would be sooner than later, but ultimately knowing that I think it's a sweet and humbling place to be in a spot where we aren't in control of the process, and at some point an expectant birth mom is going to look through our profile book and choose us to raise her child and be part of her life. And so that is exciting and humbling, and I think the weightiness of the whole adoption process makes the wait it makes it feel weighty as well. Yeah. And as the wait has continued, so we've been listed as an active waiting family for about 2 months. And as the wait has continued, we've continued to talk with
families and learn from different perspectives, whether it's a birth mom's perspective, an adoptive parent's perspective, an adoptee's perspective. And we've done some courses, some adoption education courses, and just continuing to learn. And yeah, like Peter said, that weightiness of brokenness and pain and beauty and all of it wrapped up in adoption.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we're processing, and
it's big, yeah. and wrapped up, and I think for us there's another layer wrapped up in the whole process. And that layer is the reality that the reason that we can go down this route of adoption is that this medication that Mary's been taking for over 2 years now has really changed the trajectory of our lives. And so wrapped up in the weightiness of the adoption process itself is the weightiness of the health journey that we've been on, and the realities of the stability that Mary's experiencing in her lungs. And so there's so many emotions there of gratitude and humility, and yeah.
And I think also we are still on this journey of being married for almost 11 years, and most of that time thinking that we would never have an opportunity to welcome a child into our family. And then we walk upstairs and we go down the hallway and we're greeted by a nursery, a baby room, and that reality of like this contrast of what we thought for most of our marriage was not a possibility is now a possibility. And so there's this celebration in that, and then it's met by the heart emotions of the realities of adoption. Yeah, and you know, in the adoption, they talk about the triad, so the different parts of adoption, the expectant and then birth mother, or the birth family, and then the adoptee, and then the adoptive parents, and that triad, and the many different complexities, dynamics,
and complexities.
And so I guess to summarize, the waiting is a process, and
yeah,
there is beauty and there is pain. And so,
and I do think that there is a dynamic of this season that I don't know if I expected when we started the process of knowing, like, each day we could get an email that could be news that, I don't know, like, our lives could change in an instant today or tomorrow. And I think in that there's many parallels, I think, in the waiting season to kind of a pregnancy, of anticipating your baby, but this element of the unknown timing of it feels, I don't know, crazy.
Yeah, it really does. And it's like having we don't know whether we'll be chosen by a family whose baby was already born, like, oh, baby was born yesterday, or baby is due in 8 weeks. And so we need to be ready at any moment, and also patient for if it's a year from now. So it's like both and, ready and patient.
Somebody asked, do you have cystic fibrosis in your dreams? This is a good question. And has that changed because of Trikafta?
Okay, I do have CF when I'm in dream world. In fact, the other night I had a dream that I met one of my friends who also has CF, and let's just say there were no such thing as infection control. I mean, there was kind of, like, we like kind of gave each other high fives, and then I do think about infection control, like that whole like stay 6 feet away from other CF patients, but sometimes in my dream we don't care about it. We just hug them anyway or something.
In your dreams.
In your dreams. But no, I don't think Trikafta has changed my CF dream world, but it sure has changed my real life.
Well, thanks for your questions and for hanging out with us today. And
as always,
we'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Good night, Ollie boy. Oh, I see your tail. Yeah. Good night, buddy.